Hey everyone! Welcome back to another episode of You Have Got to Be Knitting Me, or the You Have Got to Be Knitting Me podcast, I guess. My name's Nora. I'm also You Have Got to Be Knitting Me on TikTok and on Instagram, and I've been putting slightly more effort into my TikToks in the last couple of weeks, so please feel free to follow me over there. I'm really excited to film this episode. It's been a little longer than I wanted it to be. Since my last one, but I just was on a little trip to DC, so I either was going to film before or after, and I ended up filming after, so I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the episode. But I have two sweaters to show, and a pair of socks, and a little bit of yarn to show as well, and an upcoming knit to talk about, so let's get started. Let's talk about finished objects first. Very exciting finished object to talk about. My sweater that I have been knitting for a while now, this Intarsia sweater. Here's the front, the back, the sleeves are the same, but here are the sleeves. And I think last time I talked about this, I had the body done, shoulders attached, but the sleeves were not done. So I have since knit the sleeves and seamed the whole sweater. So let me talk about this from the beginning. I designed this sweater for myself. It's all Intarsia. It's Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted, which is my favorite yarn to knit Intarsia with. That's what this whole blanket is. And yeah, I made up this pattern for myself. I designed it on Stitch Fiddle, which is how I like to design Intarsia, and I just kind of based it off the sizing of another sweater. And it did take a lot of trial and error, especially if you watched the last episode. These are the second second prototype of the sleeves. I had much smaller and thinner sleeves that did not look good. I don't think prototype was the word I was looking for. I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but you know what I mean. Yeah, so I thought this sweater was really fun. I came up with the idea. I've had the idea in my head for a while. I've been seeing a lot of thrift sweaters, mostly baby sweaters in thrift stores or on Instagram that are like vintage sweaters that were this style, and then I wanted to put my own Nora twist on it by putting an alien on it, obviously. But yeah, I really like knitting this sweater, and I want to make the Stone Knits has a sock pattern that's pretty similar. That's like a little house on a little cottage on a hill with clouds, and I'm gonna knit mine with pink clouds so it can match. Hopefully I'll catch that on soon. Yeah, so since the last episode I was able to, I think I talked about, but I usually knit my sweaters all in one piece, top down, so the fact that I had to seam the sweater was a little nerve-wracking for me. I don't have the most confidence when it comes to seaming, but I think I did a pretty good job, especially I was really proud of my vertical to horizontal seam. I think it looks really good, and it was much simpler than I expected. And then it's also seamed on the sides too with mattress stitch or mattress seam. And then on the inside, on TikTok, I was getting a lot of comments about the inside, so I guess I'll show that. I wove in all my ends, which I don't mind weaving in ends, especially if you do it like as you go. I think it's kind of like meditative, so I don't mind. Yeah, so I weaved in all my ends, but I was kind of being a bad Intarsia girl, and I did leave some floats that are pretty long, which when you're knitting Intarsia, you're not really supposed to have floats at all, but I put them in, I left them in places where I think it's gonna be okay. I'm not gonna be getting my fingers all, I'm not a baby, I'm not gonna get my fingers all twisted in these. I don't know if that's what people are worried about with their big floats. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say for this sweater. I really like the way it fits. When I was taking photos of it the other day, sometimes when you have a really big, thick sweater, it sometimes is like a little uncomfortable to wear, but I was wearing it the other day and I was like, ooh, I love this. So it's not only beautiful, it's very comfortable. It's not perfect. There are some things that I maybe could have gone back and changed, but I'm glad I didn't. It's okay. Yeah, I am looking forward to knitting another sweater like this. I love knitting Intarsia. I love designing Intarsia for myself. So I need to come up with another idea because I love knitting like this. But yeah, I love this sweater. And yeah, that's it. Next thing on the needles, but it will probably be off the needles by the end of the day, I have really been knitting on my cardigan. This is patterned by Lindsay Deegan. I'm a big fan of her patterns, and she also has a yarn store in Rhode Island, where I do not live in Rhode Island, but I consider it my local yarn store. Sometimes we do need to cross state lines to go to our local yarn store, and that's okay. I think this weekend is local yarn store day. So if you have a local yarn store that you love, you should go this weekend. They might be having an event or something. That will be fun. Hopefully I make it to Knit Club this weekend. But yeah, this pattern is a cardigan, and it has a button band. That is what I'm working on now. This is the one that has the buttonholes on it, and this one is one that has the buttons on it, but I haven't purchased the buttons yet, so that will be fun to pick them out. The yarn is Hedgehog Fibres, Merino Aran in the color Orchid, which is one of the 2025 Hedgehog Fibres colors of the year, which I had been planning this sweater for a while. I talked about this yarn a lot in the last episode, but I've been planning this sweater for a while, and I really wanted the yarn to be special, so I'm glad I got my hands on this yarn. Yeah, so it's knit. Again, I'm seaming so much. Like, when I was seaming the sleeves of this, I was like, wait, do I like seaming all of a sudden? And that's what it is. All you need to do is practice. People have been saying it for years, and they're right. All you need to do is practice. I seamed on my sleeves last night, and it was really good. No problems arose. But yeah, I really like this pattern, and it knits super fast because it's all stockinette, and like you're kind of you're decreasing for the back and for the like front pretty quickly, so you're only going across very few stitches for a lot of it. So this knit up super fast, and the sleeves too, where it's just kind of, I think it's like size 7 or 7 or 8 size needles. So I feel like I wasn't even spending that much time knitting this. All of a sudden I just had a sweater. And the sleeves, the cast on is provisional cast on, tubular cast on. Yeah, both of those are correct. I have lots of experience doing provisional cast on, but something weird has happened all 3 times I had to do it for this sweater. When I like crochet onto the needle, which I always do, and then when I went to unzip it, like it was green yarn, and the yarn was like still in the tube, but not crocheted anymore, and I just had to pull it out as like a single thread. And nothing's wrong, and like the stitches aren't gonna come undone, but like that just has never happened to me before, and it happened all 3 times that I did the cast on, and I watched a YouTube video being like, what am I doing wrong? And I couldn't figure it out based on the YouTube videos. So I mean, everything's fine, but it's just strange that I had to like pull the yarn completely through. So if you know why that happened, let me know. It might be because like, I guess if you were doing a provisional cast on and like picking up from the crochet, you would be like technically knitting a row. So maybe because I'm doing ribbing, I should have knit 1 row, but it didn't say that in any of the videos. So I'm just gonna say that there's no issues, so I don't need to solve the problem of why that happened, but if you for some reason know why that happened, let me know. What else do I need to talk about this? I seamed it really fast. Cardigan. The color, I talked about the yarn. Oh, also one modification I made to the pattern, it does say Italian bind off for the button band. I'm going to try to link the bind off that I do almost always for 1x1 rib, no matter what it says. It's a really nice sewn bind off. Lay Pull uses it in almost all of her patterns, but it's so easy and simple, and I do love the Italian bind off, and I think it's good to always do the cast on and the bind off that the pattern says, because I think it's good practice again, and it's good like challenge. So I usually do that, but since I've discovered this sewn bind off, I pretty much do it for every 1 by 1 rib because it looks so nice. So hopefully I can find a video. It's very beautiful, and it's much simpler than the Italian bind off, if that is something that is intimidating to you. But I think that's all I have to say. Did I take any more notes? Cardigan. Oh, I'm knitting the medium. I have about this much yarn left, and the sweater has a collar. So I really just need like maybe 5 more rows here and the collar, so I think I'll be fine. But when I ordered the yarn, I was in between if I was gonna knit the large or the medium. So I'm knitting the medium. I don't know if that means anything to other people, but if that's helpful for you to know. And I do need to purchase buttons. I was looking through my button stash and I have nothing that matches, or I do have like a pretty like light purpley pink that would match, but I only have I think 2. So, and there's no Joann Fabrics anymore, and Joann's was like the best place to get buttons. You've never seen buttons like at Joann Fabrics, but I'm sure other stores have picked up the slack, so I'll be okay. Yeah, so that's the sweater, and I love it so much. And next week, actually probably by the end of the day it'll be done, but by next episode it will definitely be done. Okay, my last work in progress is in my little Jellycat bag that my sister gave me. It's not really a good knitting bag because it's really narrow, and my double pointed needles kind of stab through it, but I have been putting to use this needle minder that has mermaids on it that I truly have had since I think my sophomore year of high school. I got it in a mini skein swap and never used it, but it's nice for this bag because it's kind of a little bit too narrow to be a knitting bag, but gotta love Jellycat. So speaking of Jellycats, I don't know if you can see them over here, but yeah, so I'm knitting these socks. I showed them last time. I just went on a trip to DC, and I just like, when I have vanilla socks or plain socks, I like to just save them for either going to the movie theater or trips and stuff that I can just carry them around. So I knit a little bit in DC, but not a lot, which is usually what I do when I travel. I always get so like, the second I plan a trip, I'm like, what am I going to be knitting on that trip? And then I'm like looking at every sweater I have, and I'm like, that's not going to fit in my suitcase. That's not going to fit. I don't want to be carrying that around. And every single trip I go on, I almost never knit, and I don't need to bring knitting. But I cause myself that strife every time. Anyway, these are my Opal socks. They're really pretty. I just like having a pair of plain socks on the needles. I got through the heel last night. I've been taking a little data. These do not look like they're the same size. Oh, I guess so. I guess so. I've been taking a data analytics course online, and it's really nice to have something to knit while you're taking your class, because it's just videos most of the time, so I'm able to knit during it. It makes it a little bit easier to pay attention. But yeah, these are just vanilla socks, and I like to, when I knit these kind of socks, I usually do a heel flap and gusset, which I did. Yeah, I'll probably finish these soon, but I might save them. I think potentially I may save them because it's the 50th anniversary of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and I may save these for the movie theater because I do think it's coming back into theaters. So potentially I'll finish these while watching Monty Python. Yeah, here are my socks. All good. And that's all my works in progress and my finished objects, but I do have an upcoming knit I want to talk about and some yarn, so I'll show you that. So I applied to be part of James and Watt's test knitting for his next tank top that's coming out, and I was selected. So this is yarn that I got, but I just want to talk, I'm a big fan of James and Watt's patterns and Instagram, and also he has a knitting podcast that's one of my favorite knitting podcasts, and he just talks about knitting for like 2 hours and doesn't edit them at all, and that's like great what I like to view. So if you're interested in that, I definitely recommend his podcast. I'll put a link because it's definitely one that I never skip. Also, the one that I never skip is Legacy Fiber Arts. That's my other favorite knitting podcast. Anyway, the pattern is like a striped tank top, stripy tank, and I'm test knitting it, and this is a yarn that was recommended with the pattern, and it comes in these adorable packs are these so cute, and they're 25 grams each, so each of a single pack is 100 grams. And the pattern is just a tank top with vertical stripes. Vertical stripes, can you tell? You'll see. You'll see when I start knitting. But yeah, I'm not going to use every color. I don't think I'm a big fan of the way that these two pastels match to the rest of the color palette. I think the rest of the color palette's kind of giving Daphne from Scooby-Doo, and I don't really like the mints as much. But I'm really excited to hopefully cast this on. Maybe when I finish my sweater, I'll at least knit the gauge swatch. What are people's thoughts on blocking cotton yarn? Like, I don't knit with cotton yarn that often. Do we block it? I don't know. Well, I'm probably gonna block it anyways, but anyway, that's just an aside. I don't knit with cotton yarn very often. Yeah, so this is my Purl Soho order, and I have knit a Purl Soho pattern before, but I don't think I've ever knit with their yarn, so I'm excited. And these packs of yarn are just so cute. Oh, I wrote down the colors in case that's important for you. This one I believe is called Mint Citrus because the other one's called Inchworm, and I feel like this one's giving Inchworm more than this one, so I'm assuming that this one's Mint Citrus, Inchworm. And then this one is called Meadow Phlox. So I'm excited to knit that. Yeah, stripy tank top, James N. Watts. And then it came with, okay, again, I said I was gonna try to stop diving off of camera, and I just did it again. It came with this yarn, which is free sample knitting yarn. Don't you dare try to crochet with it or else. Just kidding, it just says knitting yarn. It's very beautiful. It's called North Sea. I don't know what yarn line it is, but I love it. It's 100% merino, and I actually am knitting kind of a scrappy sweater in my upcoming projects in my dream, kind of a scrappy sweater that's mostly blues, so it was really convenient that they sent this because it was like they knew. Yeah, and then my last little yarn haul is a gift from my friend Halle. She got me this yarn in Tasmania. So if anyone's going to Tasmania soon and needs a yarn store to go to, I recommend Salamanca Wool Shop. Yeah, Halle was in Australia and she brought me this yarn, which is 100% alpaca, and look how fuzzy and beautiful it is. And it almost perfectly matches my clouds, and also the sock yarn that I'm knitting, the sock yarn that was hilarious. That sock yarn is kind of the same color. Yeah, so Halle got me this. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but it's so beautiful, and it's so beautiful to have a souvenir yarn. My friend Halle also writes crosswords, so if you're into crosswords, which I feel like knitting people probably also love doing crosswords, kind of the same activity levels, so I'll put a link to Halle's most recent crossword so you can do it. I was just in DC visiting all my friends, and we watched a Twitch streamer do her crossword on Twitch, and that was like really funny because I did not know that you could stream crosswords, but they do. Yeah, so that's all I have to do. That's all I have to talk about knitting. Yeah, that's all I have to talk about knitting, but I have a little bit of catch up to talk about too. As I said, I just got back from DC, and that's where all my besties live, and it was really good to see them. I went down because there's Lucy Dacus concert, and Katie Gavin from Muna was the opener because she just had a solo album come out, and that was really fun. I'm a huge Muna fan and a huge Katie Gavin fan, and also a Lucy Dacus fan, but this concert definitely, I was going to see Katie, but the concert was great, and it made me more of a Lucy Dacus fan, and especially really love this album. So it was a great concert. It was at the Anthem in DC, and yeah, and Katie said that she recorded her NPR Tiny Desk that the same day that we saw her, so that's really exciting. I can't wait to watch that because I'm a big fan of her music, and her album was my top album of 2024. It was so good. So that's a music recommendation. Katie Gavin, What a Relief. Also Lucy Dacus, Forever is a Feeling. 2 album recommendations. But I had a lot of fun with my friends, and we had an Easter brunch, a lot of good food. got to ride the electric scooters in DC, which is always kind of a highlight of any time my friends go and visit. We love riding the electric scooters, even though I did injure myself and draw blood, but that's okay. It's pretty cool to be bleeding on your scooter. That's how tough I am. And it's also not only Monty Python, it is the 20th anniversary of Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley version. And so we saw that in theaters, and I have seen it before, definitely, but not in so long that it felt like I was watching it for the first time, and the theater was completely packed. Me and my friend Leah were in the front row, so that's how packed it was, and the theater was like really into it. Everyone was laughing at the right parts, and it was a very fun movie viewing experience. And Donald Sutherland in his last scene like really made me cry. Like at the end, everybody was like, oh my god, like that last scene with Mr. Darcy, like wow. And I was like, I honestly couldn't pay attention because the scene before with Donald Sutherland killed me. Rest in peace, Donald Sutherland, great actor. But that was really fun to see Pride and Prejudice in theaters. That was really awesome. And then yeah, that was basically my DC trip. I just got back on Sunday. That's why my episode is a little delayed, but I think I'm glad that I waited because I think I have a good amount of stuff to talk about. Yeah, so that's my trip update. And then for TV, I really have only been watching Righteous Gemstones, like since White Lotus ended. I'm gonna start Hacks, but I haven't started. I haven't watched it all, but I know the 4th season's coming out, so Hacks is on my to be watched next list. And I did watch, Martin McDonagh is my favorite filmmaker, and I did watch In Bruges, and I always say that wrong, In Bruges, and Seven Psychopaths. Not intent, like I just put one on and then put on the next one. So I guess I'm kind of committed to having a Martin McDonagh marathon. So I guess I'll finish Banshees of Inisherin and Three Billboards. Three Billboards is like my favorite movie ever, so why not watch? And I was watching Sing Sing last night. That just was put on HBO, or put on Max, but I didn't get to finish it because I was a sleepy girl. I was talking about movies, TV, Hacks, Martin McDonagh. Yeah, those are my movies. If anyone has any TV recommendations, let me know. I love watching TV and knitting, and I think that's like one of people's favorite parts of Knitting Podcast is talking about media. And I think on the last episode I was still talking about Silo, the book series, which I've finished and I loved. And I feel like this review is going to be interpreted as negative, but I mean this completely positively. It's 3 books, and the last book is like 100 pages shorter than the other 2, and I wish there was more. Not like I was unsatisfied with the ending, but I just think I was unsatisfied. It's a great book series. I highly recommend it. I'm excited to see what the show does, but I just think there was like so much in that series and in that book series that I wanted to know a lot more, and when it ended I was like, wait, I want to know more. So I highly recommend that. I'm not a sci-fi fan, but I'm not a sci-fi fan usually, but I really like those books. Here comes my very elderly dog. You can hear her tip-tapping around. I don't know where she's going, but she's on a mission. And then right now I'm reading All Fours. This is gonna be embarrassing if you can't hear, and then I'm just like seeming really irritated, but she's just like very loud and stubborn and old, but we love her. It's okay. It's okay to be loud and stubborn and old, and when you're as old as Anna. Right now I'm reading Miranda July All Fours, which I've been kind of reading for a while, and I really enjoy it. It's my first Miranda July book, and I definitely want to read more because I know that she's really popular and really a well-renowned writer. But it's one of those books that I'm so enjoying if I have it open in front of my face. But if I'm like sitting in my bed, I don't want to reach over and open it. So I don't know if that's a negative review, but that's just how I'm feeling about All Fours. I'm like almost 200 pages. It's only like 300 something pages. So I'm definitely going to finish it. But yeah, that's the book I'm reading. And I really think that's it. I think today might be a shorter episode, which I always think, but then I'm editing and they're all pretty much the same length, but maybe today is a shorter episode. I hope I wasn't talking too fast. I know that's always the feedback I give myself when I'm editing. I'm trying to slow down, but I'm not doing a great job. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to talk about. Yeah, I missed you guys. I missed filming this episode. This is my favorite out of all of the content I create. I really like making knitting podcasts and YouTube videos in general, so I've been missing making them, so I hope at least one person maybe missed watching them. And I will talk to you all later. Bye!